My name is Bob Babbitt, and welcome to Babbittville Classic Rewind, a collection of my favorite interviews with some of the legends of endurance sports that have aired over the past 3 decades. I'm hoping you will enjoy these interviews as much as I do. As always, endurance lives here.
Babbitt.
Yo!
When we left, we were talking about the 3-time Hawaii Ironman champion, Peter Reid, and joining us, as you said, from his igloo in Victoria. I don't know. I heard it's raining. I heard it's cold. I've got on this Wiggle Wireless thing where you can get Peter's comments on a day-to-day basis on what's going on, and it sounds like it's kind of nasty up there. Peter, how you doing?
Good. It's freezing up here.
What the hell you doing there? Back to Hawaii, boy.
I don't know what I'm doing. Next year I'm staying in Hawaii.
The whole idea is when you go hermiting, you're not supposed to hermit where the weather's lousy.
Oh, man, it's just been brutal.
So Peter, you were in Hawaii. When were you in Hawaii, and when did you come back to the nice weather in Victoria?
Oh, I got back to the beautiful, nice weather about a week ago.
A week. How long were you in Hawaii?
I was in Hawaii for 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Were you up in the mountain with the bombing and all the rest of that?
No, this year I kind of took a little bit more relax and actually had TV and electricity. And
Wow.
Yeah, I stayed in Waimea this year, which was really nice.
Dude, you're getting soft.
Waimea, that is nice.
It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice ranching town. There's a lot of really nice running on trails, and it was a good thing. I needed to do something a little different this year.
I remember, Huddle, the first time we did Ironman.
Yeah.
After the race, we loaded the car with chocolate-covered macadamia nuts and drove up to Waimea and wanted to go to the waterfalls, which are not on this island. So we drive into a gas station, Ned over it, and myself, hey, where are the falls? The guy's like, you need to take a different trip to a different island. You haven't seen any falls there, have you, Peter? I was looking for a while.
No
falls.
No falls.
Oh,
no
God.
falls for you.
So, Huddle, the last 9 years, this guy has won Ironman 3 times, 3 seconds, 2 fourths, and then that one DNF, but that doesn't really count. So we got 3 wins, 3 seconds, 2 fourths. Who's been more consistent over the last 9 years? I don't think anybody.
No question. And on top of that, what do we have? 3 Ironman Australia wins, 2 Canada wins, 1 Lanzarote. I mean, it's been pretty good for him.
I think so. So Peter, how you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. This is actually the first time I've had a really tough time with my taper. I trained really hard when I was in Hawaii, and just been having sore legs pretty much every day. Swimming's been going good, and riding's been going pretty good, but the running just hasn't come around yet, so it's basically, keep my fingers crossed, and hopefully it comes together October 15th.
When you say sore legs and you've been back for like a week, that makes me think, oh my gosh, what did he do for 3 weeks while he's in Hawaii? How insane was it? I mean, how hard are you training when you're over there? How many hours, over the course of a week?
Well, I put in, you have to think of it as, I went there, spent a couple of days acclimatizing. I put in 2 40-hour weeks where I actually motor paced the course a couple of times and did a lot of long runs and weights, and I trained pretty hard, and then I recovered, and it's just taking a little bit longer to recover this time, and I got to keep telling myself, it's part of the taper, and don't test it. When you try and test your form, that puts you back a couple of more days. So I've been holding back, and I actually had to call up Mark Allen yesterday, and I'm like, my legs aren't coming around. He's just like, don't test anything. Just save it for race day.
Good advice.
Because that is sort of the natural thing, huh? You go, okay, I got to feel good again. What do I got to do to feel good? And go out and hammer yourself, and then...
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I should be flying.
Yeah.
You keep trying to... You want to go out and just rip it up, but it's like, no, you got to have patience, and that's the taper, and that's what it's about, I look back to, my first win at Ironman Australia.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get on the plane. My legs felt horrible. I was like, I'm bailing. I'm totally bailing.
Right.
And I managed to get on the plane, and that was my second fastest Ironman ever. I went 8:08.
Wow.
What the heck?
Well, I guess you just can't tell, huh? Because there's probably some times you're like, oh, I am so ready, and then you're just flat.
Oh, totally. I've had races where I thought I was going to destroy, and those were some of my worst Ironmans ever. So it's Ironman's one of those things where you just gotta, whatever happens on race day happens.
Hey, Peter, you're I think the first that I can remember who used this strategy of going over to Hawaii and sort of putting yourself through a, whatever you want to call it, a training camp or hermitage, whatever you want to call it. And what inspired that? And do you realize that, since you've done this year, I think alone, I think Babbitt and I were talking about this, I think Natasha Filiol's been over there as long as I can remember. That's where she's doing all her training. Chris McCormick's been over there. Tim DeBoom's been over there. All these people are now doing what you're doing. What inspired this? Is this Lance Armstrong, or is this Mark Allen, or is this just Peter going, I need something different?
No, it all started, in 2001 I dropped out of the race, and it was basically 2002 where I was going back to race Hawaii, and, there was no expectations, A lot of people had written me off, and Mark and I came up with this strategy that he was like, you know what, you can't go back and deal with all those negative thoughts from the year before race week. He's like, you need to go spend some time there, do some training, and deal with everything. Deal with dropping out, deal with, being on the island and getting your confidence back. And he's like, one of the best ways to do that is to go and train there. And so that's kind of how it came about. And we were both worried about, training in Hawaii is really hard. Racing there is even harder. And if you spend too much time there, you burn out.
Right, especially too close to the race.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get rejuvenated, and you tend to falter by the time race day comes. And I think I came pretty close this year to burning out, and so I've been taking it pretty easy since I've gotten back to BC.
So basically, the questions that you ask yourself on race day, you want to get answered, so they don't come up again during race day.
That's exactly it. That's totally it. And
why am I doing this? This is really hard. This is really windy. Why is it so hot?
Yeah, if you're trying to answer those questions on race day, it's too late.
Good point.
It's too hard. It's too hard to race to just like, okay, now why am I out here?
Yeah, yeah. How does it change for you after last year? Norman Stadler getting 20-some minutes during the bike ride, and you coming off the bike and hearing those magic words. And here comes Peter Reid. He's 22 minutes back. From that, did you say, okay, my focus is going to be the bike. I just cannot let that happen again.
Yeah, definitely. That's been a pretty big focus. And
yeah.
I used to be one of the stronger cyclists in Hawaii. And
you still are.
Yeah.
No, it's actually taken a bit of a hit. My running's been getting faster and faster, but my cycling's been kind of going. I'm just kind of like a mid-level rider right now. I'm not the guy off the front like I used to be. So that's been kind of a theme that I've been trying to get back. And
right.
So we'll see what happens. I want to go. I want to go with the top guys, but it's a question of will the legs be there on race day, and if it's there, then I'll go. If not, I'll do like last year and try and run up into position.
Pete, Mark actually had I don't know if it was a news release or whatever. He was talking about you and your training, and this should give you some confidence because he certainly has confidence in you, because he said no one, and he was very emphatic about it. He said in capitals, no one will ride away from Peter Reid in Hawaii this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but is that a choice, or is that just, you either have the legs or you don't? Is that something you sit there and go, well, I'm not, like, do the women sit there and go, I'm not letting Natasha ride away? Or is that something you can really, go after him and just go, look, I'm just not going to let him go. He's going to get the drafting distance away from me, and then I'm sitting here. It's
funny that you're alluding to Norman a lot, and I have actually prepared this year not thinking about any one of my competitors. Last year I thought about everybody.
Right.
And this year I have not thought about anybody but myself. And all I'm trying to do is get to race day as fit and fast as I can. And I'm going to race whoever's going to, if I have good legs on the bike, I'm going on the bike. I'm not thinking about anybody else. And whoever's out there, I'll race. And if my legs aren't there, then I'm going to do, try and do the Pac-Man thing like I did last year, run down as many people as I can. And it's just a weird mentality, I think a lot of that has to do with, I was pretty sick at the beginning of the year, and I've just been trying to get back into shape. So it's basically all my focus has been on myself. Whatever I can do to get stronger. I've been working quite a bit in the weight room, and people are telling me, they're like, "Dude, your legs are bigger." I was like, "Really?" So it's just basically been about me, and it's actually kind of a little bit stress-free. I'm not lying in bed at night thinking, "Oh my God, is Norman going to ride away? Is he going to ride?"
Right.
And how strong is is Tim going to be, and is Cameron going to finally make it his year? It's nothing like that at all. It's basically like, oh, my legs are still hurting. Okay, how am I going to get ready for Hawaii?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically always been about me, pretty much since I got sick. So.
Now, was that from conversations with Mark Allen, or was that just a decision you made early on?
Yeah, that's just basically been something that just kind of, it's nothing that consciously went into my head. It's
right.
That I've just been dealing with my body and trying to get it better and try and get it stronger, and just basically just focus on myself.
Peter, you alluded to being sick earlier this year, and I remember we spent some time in Dubai, and you were sort of starting to come out of it at that point. Talk a little bit about what led to that, how March and April went, and then at what point you felt like you transitioned to being healthy and able to get rolling again.
Well, it's funny, Bob. Your wife, actually, I've gotten to know her quite well over the few years, and a wildflower.
You are her favorite, by the way.
And we were talking, and I was just like, I dropped out of that race. There was nothing in my legs.
Yeah.
I was just dead. I was completely dead, and I was like, I can't figure it out. And she's like, okay, you were in Arizona, right? And I'm like, yeah, I was there. She's like, how long were you there? I was like, I was there about 7 weeks. She's like, you were doing the hermit thing for 7 weeks, weren't you? I'm like, yeah. So I was pretty.
You over-hermited.
Oh, I over-hermited.
She told me that. She says, you know what, Peter over-hermited.
Yeah,
Is that a word, Huddle? I think that is.
It is now.
Over-hermited.
It's a word now.
Yeah. We're coming up with that.
Yeah. One of my biggest weaknesses is not holding back and not learning how to build into training.
Right.
Usually if I start with a spring Ironman, it kind of forces me to back off, and then I do a race, and then it takes time to rejuvenate after that. And if I don't do a spring Ironman, I tend to just full throttle, full on training, full on, on a mission. And I ended up just wearing down my immune system and getting really sick. And it actually took, I only started feeling good towards the end of August.
Wow.
So it took all summer to get to have that groove back where you're out there running and riding and you're like, man, I feel good. I only started feeling that way towards the end of August. So.
Have you ever had that, Huddle? I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah.
That thing where you feel good?
Oh, yeah. Good? No.
No.
The other thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Pete, you went over to the Tour de France, didn't you? You spent some time watching that race and strolling around during this period of time?
Well, that was 2 years
ago.
2 years ago, okay.
Yeah. No, this summer I basically just stuck close to home and just tried to get stronger every week.
So, Peter, you really didn't get a chance besides the Vineman one-on-one with Tim. What other races did you do?
I've done a lot of little local races here in British Columbia. To try and go through the movements.
Right.
I actually did some new things. I did some 40K time trial races and just kind of stuff where I felt it would fit into getting me ready for Hawaii. And you have to remember, I basically started from scratch. Towards the middle of July. So it was basically how do I get back in shape? And
right.
That's been the focus all summer.
Well, and the hard part too is you're not 25.
Yeah, that's the other issue. It's taking longer to get back into shape. I'm 36 years old now. And taking such a big break from training, it takes that much longer to get back into shape.
Well, I remember when Mark took that year off in '94. And then, was going to race in '95, and that whole summer he was just in Huddle. You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was pretty panicked. I mean, it just was not coming back.
Yeah.
And basically, being sick and everything, Peter, you had to take some pretty substantial time off, and trying to get it back is not easy.
Oh, definitely. It's been a bit of a bit of a process, but I keep thinking about it. I was like, the one date that I've had in my mind is October 15th.
Right.
Like, that's the only day I need to be fit.
Right.
So it's like, I've got time, and and definitely that time I did in Hawaii, I felt good. I went real hard, and I think that's why I'm so tired. It's just I just have to let the body soak it in and not test it, and testing is October 15th.
Absolutely. Hey, Peter, how much have you looked, speaking of age and training and everything you've done over the years, have you looked at, and obviously you've talked to Mark, but have you looked at people like Hale Regal and the people who've come before you and said, you know what, I am getting a little older, in order to be able to stay on top, I may need to adjust some things, and it may need to be adjusted in the other direction. You may need to back off a little bit. Have you done some of that?
No, but I actually read a really interesting article with Ned Overend this summer, and after I read that article, it just kind of clicked. It's like, that's kind of thing I need to do, to be a little bit more aware of, and it's been a learning curve. It's like I'm still learning on how to train and perform at an older age. It's like I know mentally that drive to win at racing is only there for Hawaii. That's the one race where I wake up and I'm in warrior mode.
Sure.
It doesn't come around as much as it used to. And basically just how do I train? How do I can't go as hard as I want, and and I think I train a lot more by myself nowadays because I train with the younger guys and they destroy me in training, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting any confidence training with these guys.
That doesn't help any. When you were in Hawaii, did you train by yourself mainly?
Yeah, actually, well, a friend of mine came out for 10 days, and he motor paced, and he's actually a strong swimmer, so we swam together. And,
right.
For the runs, he would do the warm-ups with me, and then I'd take off, and then, he'd be out there on a mountain bike. So that was something a little bit different for me, and so that was kind of a form of a training partner, but heading out on a run or on a bike with somebody and working out, I haven't done that in a long time.
Pete, if you've been working with Mark, he's been working with you on the mental or perhaps even the spiritual side. How important is that, and how left out of most professionals' training program do you think that is? I mean, how big of a difference has it made for you?
Racing well in Hawaii is you've got to have, like I always say, all your whys have got to be answered. Why am I doing this? Why am I racing? Why is this my profession? Why am I hurting so bad and I keep wanting to hurt myself more to keep going forward? I think it's really important, and the way I do it is to seclude myself and not be around people, and basically I'm answering these questions. I'm actually not in Victoria right now. I came back to Victoria about a week ago, and I felt some of those questions weren't answered yet. So my brother's place in Whistler, British Columbia, was empty. He's actually touring the States right now, and he's like, look, I was talking to him, and I'm like, I haven't figured out a lot of the reasons why I'm doing this year. And he's like, well, why don't you go up to my place, hang out? There's no one there. There's no one in Whistler right now. It's the shoulder season, and you can figure some of those things out. So here I am, and I'm spending my days and my nights by myself, and I am answering some of those questions. I'm doing the runs and the rides, and I'm just spending a lot of time by myself, just making sure everything's answered for race day. And every year it's different. It's never the same reasons why you're out there.
Peter, along those same lines, Mark had so much success in other things, in other races around the world, but he never had success in Hawaii until he sort of got in tune with the island itself. When you go over there, is that part of the reason you go? I mean, obviously you could train anywhere, but the conditions there are so harsh. Just feeling like, okay, I'm okay with this place, and I'm not so much just I'm okay with myself, and I can deal with the whys, but the island is so powerful, and it just seems like the people who don't come to grips with that get crushed. Is that one of the reasons you're over there as well?
Oh, definitely. I go over there, and and after the 3 weeks that I'm there, I feel like it's almost like home.
Yeah.
And you want to feel comfortable there. And if you just show up 10 days before the race, and there's a lot going on. Plus, it's in Kona. Kona's just a part of Hawaii. I think
Right.
it's important to to be at other parts of the island and train on other parts of the island, which I do. Not all my training is on the race course. Not all my training is in Kona. I venture out and I try and be at other places. And I did a lot of neat little training things. One of the coolest things I did this year was I don't know if you heard the King's Trail.
Oh yeah.
Actually, what King Kamehameha would travel the island on, and there's this huge part along the Kohala coast.
Really?
Where it parallels the highway, but it's actually a path that's got lava rocks, stacked on each side of this path, and that's what he would travel the island from one end to the other island. And I actually did a 2-hour run out and back, and it's you can actually feel the energy while you're out there running. You're total in seclusion,
Now
And you know what, Peter? Though you're totally without water. How did you do that?
Oh, I had I had water bottles on I have one of those little running belts.
Oh, okay. So you were carrying all your stuff with you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And, but it was funny. There was some guy and he had a full backpack, and I guess he was hiking it. And I was kind of like running along. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And the look on his face was like, what the hell? And where the hell did you come from?
And he's probably out there for a week
Yeah.
doing what you've done in that day. Your 2-hour run is like that is fun. Your 2-hour run is basically his week hike. That
Very
is
nice. Hey, Peter, you've won 3 Hawaiis, obviously, in 98, 2000, and 03. And you came back after 98 and got second, and obviously came back and won. Then you DNF'd in 01, and you got second in 02, and came back and won in 03. Is it difficult? You've defended in Australia a couple times. You've defended in Canada. How hard is it to defend in Hawaii? And do you just simply race better from sort of the underdog point of view or something?
Yeah, I definitely race better from the underdog, and defending in Hawaii is extremely hard. I think when Tim defended a few years ago, I think that was the most impressive wins over the last few years, because it takes so much more energy. You've got so much more time commitments on your time,
right.
Particularly during the training phase. All of a sudden, when you want to be just at home putting in, training blocks, all of a sudden you're on a plane or you're doing a presentation and your sponsors want you.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's actually payback for your sponsors for believing you in all those years. So you always say yes.
Right.
Like, can you come here? Yes, and you want to thank them for all those years of support. So just the training phase is hard to do, and then when you get there race week, there's all the media wants you. Every single media that's there wants to interview the Ironman champion.
Sure.
So that takes even more time. So it's just basically it's a question of time. You have less and less of it, and it's something that I've never been able to do. But we'll see if.
But it certainly bodes well for this year, yeah? Second last year, right?
Right.
Well, I never go into Hawaii looking back. It's
Right.
something I've never really done. I
Yeah.
just go there, and every year is a different race. It's a different scenario, and you just the gun goes off, and you just go with it.
It's interesting, Huddle. You remember the Dave Scott era where the guy would basically do nothing during the season and
Yeah.
win in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it was always so funny because people would say, oh, it's, they have this race in Chicago or wherever it's going to be, and it's August, and they'd be, oh, yeah, Dave's going to be making appearances at this booth, this booth, this booth. And I was like, he ain't coming. You guys better get it through your head. Dave's saying to himself right now, when I win in October, they'll be fine.
And you know what? And when Dave did come to Chicago, he was 17th, 18th,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter. He didn't care, and you could tell he didn't care. He was like, whatever.
The fact that he showed up was pretty amazing in itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you can blow off all that media stuff except for Huddle and I.
that's correct.
That's the only media that really is important. Of course, ESPN Magazine ain't bad, which
Yeah,
you are
no
in the
kidding.
crosshairs this week, which is really cool. Double truck in sports in ESPN Magazine. That's pretty nice.
I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen it?
What do you mean you haven't seen it? Oh wait, you're hermiting.
He's
I'm hermiting, and everything's later in Canada, we always get stuff like
3 months late.
if the June issue comes out, we get it in July.
Oh my God!
So I'll see it in Hawaii next week.
Nice. Now, is the weather so bad that you got your Mr. Toughies on and you've got your fenders, or is it not that bad yet?
Well, one of the keys to doing well in Hawaii is to hold on to the heat acclimatization that I just did for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So almost all my training is indoors right now. I put my bike and crank up the heat and ride the trainer for 3 hours, and I do most of my runs on a treadmill. And the pool I swim in, I make sure it's actually it's a warm pool, not a pool that's a competition temperature.
Yeah.
Just so that my body doesn't revert back to dealing with the cold. And I think that's why I'm having such a tough time dealing with the horrible weather here, is because my body is used to the heat, and I'm making it stay, in that mode. And I go outside and I'm just like, ugh.
Babbitt, what? I see a marketing opportunity here. You've heard of the altitude house. Well, I've got the hot, humid house.
Well, Huddle, it's not like we're going into the past. Where did Tom Warren do all his training?
Absolutely, that's right, in the sauna.
So how excited is Huddle's brother going to be when he gets his heating bill?
Yeah. Oh, you mean Peter's? Yeah, Peter's
my
brother.
I stayed at his house. It's a $400 heating bill. What is this?
He might be listening.
Yeah, don't say anything.
I won't say anything, Huddle. We'll keep that quiet so Peter's brother doesn't get too upset.
Hey,
wow.
Peter, winning Hawaii is obviously, for a lot of triathletes, is pretty much the pinnacle of our sport. It's got to be tough. I mean, you've won 3 of these things. You've won so many other races. Athletes talk about different things that keep them coming back. I mean, is it simply the fame and the money? It can't be that. I mean, there's not enough of it in this sport. So it's got to be the feeling. I don't know what. Lava Java, the underpants run?
He's never seen the underpants run.
Yes,
have.
he has. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I haven't participated yet. One year.
The funny thing, Huddle, I sent Peter a note and said, hey, why don't you come to doing a book signing after the parade? And he just emailed back and says, the last time I was at the parade was 1995.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's great. He'll be there for like 2 hours signing autographs.
Yeah, why don't you come hang out? Oh, my God.
So what is it? What
What's
keeps
the
you
drive?
coming back? Why are you back?
Well, I'm good at racing the Hawaii Ironman.
Yes, you are.
That's my thing. So I love the preparation of it. I love I actually enjoy training, putting in the hours and watching the body, transform itself and get ready into Ironman mode, I like, how I have to watch what I eat. I just like the whole process. I love the lifestyle, and the race itself, it's, I don't want to slam Hawaii, but there's races that are better organized, that are
sure.
that have better aid stations and just better planned. But Hawaii's the one. That's the one everybody shows up with. Top form. Everybody's gunning for it, and there's power to the island. That if you have a good race, it's because you're harnessing something on race day, and to harness that and to go with it and to fly with it. There's just something special on the island that part of the process is just getting yourself as fit as possible, and then becoming as mentally strong as possible, and then on race day, harnessing into that energy. So there's a lot of elements to doing well in Hawaii, and it's different than any other race.
Yeah.
I go into other Ironmans and I can get smoked, but in Hawaii, guys that smoke me at other races just don't do well. There's something special about that island. So.
Well, there's something special. I mean, certain people have that connection.
Yeah.
I mean, Paula had that connection. Natasha has a connection. Dave had it from the beginning. Mark developed it. Welchie developed it. And you and Tim have developed that. Mm-hmm. And there's just something there that it seems like once you've won it, there's almost a calm, because they can never take that away from you. Whatever happens on race day,
You got nothing to prove.
you've got absolutely nothing to prove. And like you said, you don't have to think about anybody else out there. You go out there and have the day of your life, and there's nothing else you can do about Norman or Ferris or Tim DeBoom when it comes to race day. You just have to take care of Peter Reid.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, what? You've been at this a long time, and it hasn't all been winning. You've had your share of second, third, fourth, etc. What about training specifically for the Hawaii Ironman, what about that race, whether it's the training, the tapering, the week before, the race itself, post-race, what is the best and what is the worst?
I would say the worst is the whole Ironman thing all week. I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't like people, like, I walk around Hawaii and people point and you can hear people talk about me, and I really don't enjoy that part of the race. The best part is when the gun finally goes off, and I love that. It's like you hear the cannon, it's like, and yeah, and it's just like everything. For me, it's the switch goes off in my head. I go back from very shy. I go from very shy to very trying to be under the radar to, like, all of a sudden a total mean jerk warrior guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And that happens when that cannon goes off. There's this huge switch that goes off in my head, and I like being in that mode, and it stays there. Sometimes it stays there all the way to the finish line. Sometimes it stays there till maybe 1 or 2 miles out from the finish line. It's definitely, my personality completely changes.
Is it different in other races? I mean, is it a different warrior guy that comes out in Kona than at Ironman Germany or Ironman whatever?
Honestly, lately that switch is only going off for Hawaii.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a sign where I'm coming close to the end of my career, because it's just not happening all the time anymore.
Well, that's also a sign of a veteran athlete.
Yeah.
When to turn it on and when not to turn it on.
Yeah, I know I can only perform once.
Right.
High end, and maybe part of me doesn't want to turn on that switch. I go Wildflower and I want to win, but
sure you do.
It's just that full-on big switch going off, big circuit breaker. It's just not turning on.
Those are catered workouts. That's all that is. Those aren't races. Those are catered workouts.
Yeah.
Kona's the only one that matters. And so when you win this year and run 2:42,
yeah,
that's my dream. My dream is to finally crack like 2:43, 2:42. Always run 2:47, 2:48, but that would actually be a huge. I would have the biggest smile forever.
Yep. Pete, what would it take to gain that 6 minutes? I mean, you've had some good runs there.
6 minutes. Wait a second. We're talking 4 minutes. He's gone 2:46.
Okay, but 47, 48 is what he's saying. So 42. Anyway, whatever. Low 240s, right?
Yes.
Is what you're after. So it's not. It seems like it's right there, but what have you experienced in your marathons up to now? Have you always had like a dead spot where a couple of miles just feel 8-minute miles or something, or what happens?
I came close, I guess, last time I won, 2003, I guess I was on 2:42 pace the whole marathon, and it's the last, I guess I lost most of it just coming out of the energy lab and close to town. I just kind of, I don't know, I just there was no one to chase anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And
on those two big hills.
I just kind of settled into this, okay, I've got this race one groove.
Right.
Let's conserve. Don't risk it. Let's cruise it in.
Well, you're also, I think that one part, that last few miles, where you got people coming both directions and aid stations.
Yeah.
You run a little cautious there just so you don't do a header with somebody.
Yeah. I think it's just, had I been chasing somebody, that would have been an issue. And last year I wasn't as fit as I was the year before, and that's as fast as I could run. I was running as hard as I could the whole marathon, but.
Pete, you just said something, conserve so that I don't risk blowing up, and I think that is in the back of every athlete's mind. It doesn't matter if you're a pro or not, and how it always freaks me out when I see you guys going for it. When in certain moments or situations on the bike and on the run, and I'm just thinking, man, that is just so ballsy to just go, you know what? I'm laying it on the line, and I don't really care right now because I want to win this or die trying. How hard is it to have that attitude at a race like Hawaii? Because that is a race that has absolutely flattened everybody at some point.
Oh, yeah. It's flattened me 3 times. And, yeah, it's in the back of your mind, but sometimes you're in a situation like I was last year, where I got off the bike and I was so far behind. I think I was in 14th or 15th position, and I basically went with that. You know what? I'm going to run as hard as I can, and if I blow up, I blow up, and that's end of game, because there's nothing more to, I don't want to finish 14th or 13th. I want to try and win this thing, and I went for it. And, Norman's been doing that 4 years.
Yeah.
He would just go off the bike and then basically, was like jogging the run because he was so tired. And last year he held it.
Right.
So it worked. It totally worked. But the other years it didn't. So it's,
Do you think what he did last year is going to inspire a few other guys to not just sit there and look at Tim and Peter, including you guys, to just go, okay, he goes. We're not sitting around and watching each other. We're just going to go with what our legs have, and that's it.
Well, you look at all the Europeans that were ahead of me, starting the marathon.
Right.
It wasn't just Norman that went last year.
Yeah.
There was like 10 guys that went.
Right.
A lot of people say, "Oh, I was just sitting around staring at at Tim and Simon." I was going as hard as I could.
Yeah. And that's the funny part when people talk about people let somebody go. I
didn't let anybody go.
Let anybody.
They were riding that much stronger last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'll be the question this year is how, and actually Tim was on with us a few weeks ago, and he said there's the people who hang in there, who just sort of hang on us, are going to have a lot harder time this year, because it's going to be, the pace is going to be a lot harder the whole way, and he said be ready for a lot of people imploding.
Pete, you said you made reference to the dreaded R word, retirement, a little earlier.
Huddle.
And is that something, obviously right now, you don't even have to talk about it right now because I know what your focus is on, but is that something you have actually thought about? Have you given any thought to what you want to do down the line in the future?
Oh, yeah, I totally know what my dream job is, and hopefully they're listening. I've been with Specialized Bikes for quite a long time now, and it's a company that I really enjoy working in. I'm a total bike geek.
Yeah.
Cycling's my passion by far, and I'd like to continue working on with them. And Mike Singer, the founder of the company, who is very involved with the athletes and very involved with the new products, and he rides basically every day.
Right.
And we've talked about this a little bit, and I'd like to continue on and kind of more of a net over and kind of role, and help out with clinics, help out with new store product launches, and occasionally do the odd races. I'm always going to be an athlete. It's
interesting.
I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to retire and gain 50 pounds.
Yeah, Ned retired at 95.
Yeah, really.
Since Ned's retired, he's won 2 Xterra titles. He just won the
Colorado
Road
State champion.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he was 4th in the hill climb at Mount Evans Hill Climb. So
that's right.
Right. And then you won't be, you, Lance, Ned, you guys aren't. You might retire from specifically doing the Ironman, but
we don't see you retiring from sport.
No, you'll be a lifestyle. You'll be a geek like us.
Yeah, exactly. You'll finally be doing the underpants run.
Yes,
exactly.
He'll be doing that. He'll be doing the Muddy Buddies. He'll be doing all the fun stuff.
Oh, you know what? Muddy Buddies is something I really want to get into.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
you were there. We're just waiting for the call, because Riccatello told me that Lance wants to do the Catalina one.
Oh no.
Yeah, with Riccatello, and I told him, you tell me when, and we'll put some teams together for that.
Oh, I've already got my stellar partner already lined up.
You go.
Yeah.
Who is it? Can you divulge?
Yeah, it's a guy named Jeff Gabush. He won the Norva Series this year.
Oh yeah.
There you
very
go.
nice.
He's actually a low 230 marathoner as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's and we're the same height, so we can ride the same mountain bike. And
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Who did Paula team up with last time? How was that? Souza?
Yeah, Souza.
Oh, that's nasty. Combo.
Yeah.
Wait. Who was Ned with?
Who was Ned with? That's a good
think
question.
Ned was.
It wasn't Ned and Souza.
Paula was with Riccatello.
Is that right?
And Ned was with Souza.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we
had some great teams.
Hey,
it was really
Pete,
fun.
I meant to ask you, because you made reference to it. What did Ned say in that interview or in that article that inspired you earlier?
Just basically, he could only push it once or twice a week.
Right.
And the number one thing I took away from that article was no off time anymore. No down.
There's no off season.
Interesting.
And that was basically reference that, when after I read that, I was like, you know what? It's going to take me all summer to get back into shape.
Yeah.
And that's what basically one of the things that Ned said in that article was, he's like, I can't take time off anymore because it takes so much time to get back into shape.
Yeah. Ned really does not have an off season. He just does the same. But he'd also, even when he was at his peak, if other guys were riding 20 hours a week, Ned was riding 8. He just never did the type of long. He just gets bored. He never did the long stuff the other guys did. So, and he's maintained that level with high intensity stuff for forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. But he's a little bit of a freak.
No doubt, as is Peter, and as we will see on October 15th.
Absolutely.
Hey, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time and staying up with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And
we always enjoy chatting from Hermitville.
Yeah, exactly. And
in New Hermitville.
We might have to do Hermitville T-shirts.
That would be good.
I think, yeah.
With a picture of Peter in a cave.
Yeah.
Hey, Peter, seriously, thanks for taking the time. And
really.
May your legs come around soon, and, hope you stay healthy between now and then, and we'll see you in Hawaii.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll see you at the Underpants Run and at the book signing. And the Carbo Party.
Yeah, and the Carbo Party.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Look at that.
Hey,
Peter
Babbitt.
Reid, 3-time Ironman
Unbelievable.
champion. Oh, love it. Hey, and our bonus hour is Mr. Bob Roll.
Bob Roll.
Love that.
That's correct. Hey, Babbitt.
Huddle, great show, bud.
Yeah, fantastic. And have fun over there in NYC. And
thank you. And a big shout out to Jack,
yes.
the main guy on the board, since
Jack Cronin
blown us off.
Yeah, that's right.
And left us with,
you know what?
Jack
and he
Cronin
said,
doing a great job.
as Cronin said, he goes, I saw the vegan. I go, so? We don't need the vegan.
Who's the vegan?
That's right.
We're into the Cronin. No vegan.
No vegan. We want
no
Cronin.
Vegan T-shirts. Huddle again, October 23rd.
Yeah.
Muddy Buddy. And if you've got kids, bring them out. Mini Muddy Buddy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Mini Muddy Buddy.
Very nice.
Actually, our boys were on Oprah on
That's
Jim
right.
McLaren and Emmanuel. How about this, Huddle? They were on Oprah on Thursday. We taped it a few weeks ago. The website normally gets about 1,600 hits a day. We got 36,000 hits the day Oprah aired. And Oprah looked at the camera and said, every parent in America needs to take their child to see Emmanuel's Gift. By the way,
yes,
October 21st, La Jolla Landmark. La Jolla Landmark Theater is when the film is launching in regular distribution. It'll be at the La Jolla Landmark Theater in San Diego on October 21st, which is a Friday night. We may have to get ourselves a little group.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and then it's also launching the same night in New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, and San Francisco.
And that's October 21st?
Yeah, October 21st.
And then we have the San Diego Triathlon Challenge on
October 30th.
There you go.
The 30th is our, I think we're on our 13th annual San Diego Triathlon Challenge.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. We've raised over, I think we're about $6.5 million now, and look at some of the athletes who'll be over at Ironman this year. Sarah Reinerson's an athlete we've been helping forever. And
and if you want an introduction to the sport, you want to go down and you don't want to do the whole thing. You don't want to do a half Ironman. You don't want to do maybe the swim or the bike or the run. You got to sign up for that race.
Well, they got to sign up for 06.
06, yeah, this one's full.
July.
Well, but come down and watch.
They can come down and check it out. The other thing that's sold out are Spinathon.
Yeah.
100 spin bikes down there. It's called the Tour de Cove.
Sold out?
Sold out, Huddle. Hundreds of
Wow.
people are doing the Yellow Jersey ride, which is the 5-hour ride. I think we have 85 people signed up to ride 5 hours.
And Robin Williams is coming back?
Robin's coming back.
Nice.
And Jim Okowitz is going to be riding with him. And
very cool.
It's going to be definitely a fun time.
You're the man, Babbitt.
No.
Yes, you are. All right, well.
Oh, thanks so much, bud.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of Babbittville Classic Rewind. And don't forget to check out our huge library of interviews with the most decorated triathletes in history on Breakfast with Bob.
Ask me what I want to be, and I will say I will be